My dear friends, we will get through this, I hope together. Follow all the guidelines about hand washing, social distancing, limiting contact with others, and assume that you are a carrier of the coronavirus even if you are not. If we all show great discipline and make a shared sacrifice now, we will come through this sooner, perhaps, than we think. I have some recommendations for all of us during what is going to be one of the most trying times of our lives. If you have the space for it, even a small space, plant a garden this year. I never have enough time to weed. Now I do. The virus hates heat and sun. I'm going to try to produce my best garden ever this summer. This time it really matters. I may need the food. Gardens are a perfect Jeffersonian therapy in a time of tension, angst, fear, and frustration. I agree with Jefferson that we become saner and more serene when we have our hands in the soil. Those who labor in the earth are the chosen people of God, he wrote. I've been gathering my seeds and thinking of the parable of the mustard seed from Matthew 13:31-32. Many Americans are filling their time by binge-watching television series. In fact, the gatekeepers of the web are worried that the high bandwidth demands of video will slow the internet to a crawl, or maybe even crash it altogether. I understand that a series like Homeland or West Wing is today what a serialized Charles Dickens novel was in England in 1850, but I want to make a suggestion that I know will resonate with you because you are Jefferson Hour listeners. This is a perfect time to read those books you have been intending to read for the last many years and never quite get to. I'll confess my own big reading gaps in the hopes that you will follow suit. Write to us at the Jefferson Hour to make your own confessions and to voice your resolutions. I have never finished The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky, even though it is considered his best novel and is always in lists of the top 10 novels ever written by anyone. In fact, I don't think I've ever gotten halfway through it. The Pavir translation is outstanding. I'm going to see this through this time. I've gotten to about page 400 a couple of times, but work and travel and meetings and conference calls and life keep getting in the way. And if this lockdown lasts long enough, I'm going to finish Tolstoy's War and Peace, this time for sure. And I have a scholarly reason to read Milton's Paradise Lost. During this quarantine, each of us can take on those books that we know we will be glad when we have read them, and probably never were going to read them otherwise. I also urge you to write some letters in the next weeks and months. They can be electronic if necessary, but let them be the true old-fashioned letters and not just dashed-off notes. Write them to the people you love, of course, but also to the people you cherish, the people you respect, the people you care about, the people that lift you up, the people who have made the difference. Probably no one you know is going to die in this pandemic, but we cannot be certain of that, and this is a perfect time to express love and friendship and gratitude and devotion. Dr. Johnson once said, "Knowing you are to be hanged in a fortnight concentrates the mind wonderfully." I've been writing to the people I cherish. Some are long texts, others are electronic letters, and some are actual printed letters. And you know what? It makes me feel great. I feel human again. In the last few months I have reconnected by letter with one of my closest friends ever. We studied at Oxford University together. He's an important philosopher now, one of the most brilliant minds I have ever known. It feels like a miracle to me that we could reconnect after 30 years. "We must not die," said John Adams, "until we have explained ourselves to each other." The correspondence, especially now, has given me great happiness. No man is an island. We are all products of family, friends, mentors, teachers, associates, and even adversaries. We need to answer the network of this pandemic with the network that defines our lives and our character. You know that greeting card that says, "What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail?" Now is the time to give a couple of hours per day to the guitar, or wood turning, or learning Spanish, or crocheting. In his important book Homo Deus, Yuval Harari argues that humans stay stuck because they don't feel confident that they could do well enough at something, when in fact it is precisely that lack of confidence that is the only real impediment. I'm never going to be a worldwide classical ukulele phenomenon, but I can probably get good enough to bring some pleasure to my life, and possibly even to others. If you come out of this enforced sabbatical without having done that thing you've always said you were going to do if you had enough time on your hands, It means you never really meant to do it. Pick up your bed and walk. I also advise you to keep a journal. This is one of those macrocosmic experiences that nobody is ever going to forget. This is the Kennedy assassination, the Challenger disaster, and 9/11 on steroids. The English naval clerk Samuel Pepys kept a journal for 10 years between 1660 and 1670. It is a splendid piece of writing. Thanks to my father, I have all 13 volumes. Among other things, he witnessed the restoration of the Stuart monarchy under Charles II, the Great Fire of London, and the last great plague in English history in 1665. I'm keeping a double journal, partly on this laptop, but partly in longhand on a bunch of old yellow legal pads I found the other day while cleaning the garage. I note the daily death toll. It tolls for thee, and it tolls for me, and I chart my wild mood swings from complacent optimism to fear and loathing. I strongly urge you to do the same. Your journal may be important to future historians. How did they do during the Great Plague of 2020? And what did they do? This plague is going to end sooner than we think, so let's get started now. I'm Clay Jenkinson.